cover 3 defense might be the most common defense that players are going to face at the younger levels in football. The reason for that is that cover 3 defense allows the defense to get 8 defenders to defend the run, which happens a lot in youth football and even in high school football. And the other reason is that cover 3 defense puts 3 defenders covering the deeper parts of the field so that you eliminate a lot of your risk of getting beat deep and giving up the easy, quick touchdown. I'm going to go ahead and draw an offensive set. And because this is a passing league, I'll draw a 3 receiver set. I'll make it a 2x2 set, so you have 2 receivers this side and 2 eligible receivers, if you count the tight end on this side. Put the quarterback and the halfback there. Again, the offense could move the slot receiver there and make it a 3x1 set. They could do a lot of things, and when you're installing your defense, you'll want to prepare for how the offense might come out in their alignment, and so that your defense knows how to adjust accordingly. But really quickly, just the basics of cover 3 are this. It's called a cover 3 because there are 3 deep defenders. Your corners, let me get an eraser here. I drew that one too deep. Your corners will start off anywhere between 7 to 10 yards off. They can be up as close as 5 if they can get out in their back pedal quick, but we'll say 7 yards initially. Your free safety will be somewhere between 12 to 15 yards deep. And then your strong safety will be rotated down. So generally a defense has, especially if, in situations where you're going to see, 3 receivers, the defense will have 2 safeties, and one of the safeties in this circumstance will be brought down into what we call the box, or not, well, really what most of football calls the box, which is just the area that can defend the run. And then they'll still have 3 linebackers. So you'll have your Sam linebacker somewhere in here. You have your Mike linebacker there, and then we'll have a Will linebacker covering down over the slot receiver. And again, because it's 3 receivers, we'll make that a nickel Will, so it'll just be a 5th defensive back coming in to defend the pass. You don't want a linebacker defending a really good slot receiver. Now, in youth football and in high school football, sometimes those body types aren't as distinct, where you don't have maybe a true linebacker or a true slot receiver. But as you get into higher and higher levels of football, the player types become more specialized, and you might see it, at younger levels too. So if you get a really athletic offensive set, you might want to substitute some of your defensive personnel and make sure that you have fast guys that can match it. And the opposite is true also. If you get, if I were to make this, a tight end, make that a second tight end, you'd want to make sure that you had, your Will linebacker in there. And if I wanted to bring in, an additional, an additional tight end there, you might bring in an additional linebacker. You want to match the offensive personnel. Anyway, back to cover 3. I tend to get off the beaten path sometimes. Okay, so there's our defensive alignment. Cover 3, as I was saying before, you have 3 deep zones. Divide the field, the deep field into thirds, so each defender is covering, between 17 and 18 yards of width, and they're not letting anyone get deeper than them. The underneath coverage is going to be stretched a little bit in cover 3, or a lot in cover 3, because these outside defenders are forced to cover 2 areas. They have to cover both the curl and the flat area. And so you'll see a lot of offenses try to put two offensive players in these areas and stretch that defender. The inside defenders here, they'll come and cover the hook area inside, and they'll try to help out on the curl if they can. So it'll look kind of like that. Okay? And cover 3 is a little different than cover 2. In cover 2, it starts outside, and they try to condense everything inside by giving the corners outside leverage and forcing the receivers in. Cover 3 is opposite, where your defenders, and I'm going to go ahead and erase this. I need to get my eraser real quick. Here we go. Cover 3 has all of the underneath defenders inside, and you know, they're like this, and they're all expanding out at the snap of the ball. If this were a 3-by-1 look, I'll show you how it might look. So if we were to, you know, have the slot receiver over here, still probably have your strong safety there, or you might even make this your nickel, and then make that be a nickel Sam. Strong safety would be there. Will linebacker would be right there, and your Mike linebacker would be there. Because again, we're talking about it in the cover 2 video, but we'll also talk about it in this. You don't want to leave any receiver that just has no one over him, because the offense could just easily throw that receiver the ball and get, you know, 7 yards. So you want to always do what, you know, we call cover down, even if you're in zone coverage. Make sure that all the receivers have a defender that's somewhere in the vicinity over the top of the receiver. Okay, so you know, we can go ahead and draw the zones up again in this way. So in this way, you know, this is one great way, by the way, to move into trips in order to really cause a stretch, because now this outside defender has even more to cover. The Mike linebacker might move a little bit weak here, but he still has to keep his eyes strong because you have 3 receivers over here. And then the nickel Sam will be in that region. But to my point earlier is that cover 3, again, it starts tight and will condense. One of the strengths of cover 3, as I was mentioning, is that, you know, deep, you're going to have less space for your deep people to cover. So there's less of a chance that the offense can stretch you horizontally way deep down the field. Now, they still can by doing things like getting receivers, you know, I'm going to erase this, there's too many lines here, but they still can by getting receivers into the seams of the zone. So, you know, if I were to draw, there we go. So here's our basic cover 3 alignment. One thing you'll see offenses do a lot is they'll want to get in between these seams of cover 3, because that forces the free safety to choose, and he still has to cover 17 yards, and then they'll send these outside receivers on verticals or comebacks or something to occupy the corners. And so again, just like in cover 2, the underneath defenders don't want to let receivers just go right by him. They're going to want to put a hand on the receiver as he's going by and force him to slow down. And the other thing is, if there's no underneath threat, these outside defenders can carry vertical routes. So, you know, if the strong safety sees that the Z is releasing up the field, and he sees a tight end release up the field, and he sees and he doesn't see anything underneath, like, you know, flat route, he should carry that tight end up the field. You don't want to stay low guarding nothing. Now, the reverse is true for the cornerback. Say that the cornerback notices, for example, that the tight end, you know, say the tight end releases inside, okay? So he knows that he's not going to come into his zone this way. So the corner sees that, and he sees this receiver run a comeback. He shouldn't just keep dropping back into Never Never Land and cover nobody. As soon as he sees that, you know, no one is coming deep in his zone, he can come up and try to make a play on the underneath route. So, you know, in all of zone coverage, it eventually becomes man-to-man. When you see someone come into your zone, you have to pick that player up and, you know, immediately move to that player and try to get in between him and the quarterback and make a play on the ball. What screws zone coverages up is when players do what's called spot drop. They just think they're dropping to a spot on the field, and they look in the backfield and they let receivers run right by them. You have to be able to react to receivers, to see the quarterback's eyes, to try to make athletic plays on the ball. And then the other thing is when no one is in your zone, to find where receivers are and make plays. And so it's not anything that's easy. It takes a lot of practice and repetition, but cover 3 can be a, you know, well, it is a staple of any defense, and every effective defense needs to know how to run it. It should be in every defense's repertoire. So last thing I'll say about cover 3 is this. It's very easy to give a cover 2 look and roll to a cover 3. So if you want to line up in your cover 2 look, a lot of defenses will show late cover 3. So as a quarterback gets into his cadence, you know, often that'll be he'll give a color and a number. He'll say, you know, blue 45, blue 45. As he gets late into that cadence, maybe into the second, you know, Blue 45, this safety will start creeping back a little bit, and this safety will start creeping down. And at the snap of the ball, he's going to make sure he gets back to his deep third, and the strong safety might get to, you know, his area, which is going to be the curl flat area. And by the way, sometimes these zones can change up slightly. You can have modified cover threes. One way that some people like to run cover three is to roll their safeties weak. So just the opposite would happen. So the strong safety would roll back to the middle of the field, free safety would roll down to the weak side. Or sometimes, I was saying that the strong safety rolls down and takes the curl flat area. Sometimes defenses like to do what's called, have a linebacker buzz. So they'll take the Sam linebacker, and at the snap of the ball, he'll shoot out here and he'll cover the curl flat area. The strong safety will rotate down and he'll cover hook to curl. There are a lot of different ways to cover, but basically just know that in cover three, you should have 4 underneath defenders if there's no blitz, and 3 deep defenders. And there's got to be great communication with your players, and they have to be able to see the quarterback's eyes and anticipate different route combinations and know how to position themselves in a way that can take away passing lanes. Okay, hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to email us or fill out our questionnaire form, and we'll get back to you. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.